Hello and welcome along to yet another noob session. Now, as promised, I said that I'd do a tutorial about getting all the best effects you can from one piece, and then you can transfer that on to doing other models, Gundams, etc. So then, what we're going to start with is a principle that I've come up with. It's called the P's principle. It's all about the P's. So the first thing we do is prep the model, then we prime, then we'll pre-shade, then we'll paint, and then we'll protect. So we'll cover those in detail as we go on, but the first one we come to is prep. So we've got to remove all the parts from the sprues. So I've got a sprue here from that Eurofighter I've been doing, and I'll show you. I've got some, these are just really cheap nippers, but the thing is, I've sharpened them on the back. Well, I've not sharpened them, I've made sure that they're really flat and flush on the back, so in effect it does sharpen them, so they're a little bit better than when I brought them. Okay then, so if you look, I'm just going to come in, I'm going to cut away from the actual part itself so it leaves a bit of a rough edge on. Okay. There you go, again and again. We'll put that away. So now I've just very shortly showed you how to take those off. We'll go back to the actual piece in question itself, the shield. So you can see we've got a nub mark here, 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 and here, and all the other parts have got nub marks on as well. So what can we do to remove these? Now I've got another really old cutting mat here, and what I like to use that for is just lifting the edge off the surface, so it gives me a bit more to play with. So I like to come in as close as I can with my knife, so I'll get this more centred in the shot, and just with it, this is a new blade by the way, and just take it off. And this again, come as close as you can and take it off. Now there's still a little bit more left on there, but don't worry about that. We just need to take the majority of these nub marks off before we can go in and do something else about it. Now I've really messed up there. See I've made a little nick just there with the knife. That's because I wasn't really paying attention to what I should have been doing, but that isn't a bother. I can sand that out and it'll be just fine. Right then, this is the last one here. Lovely. So we've got all those 4 nub marks off now, and then we're going to clean them up. Okay, so once we've taken off the nubs with the knife, next we need to do is really get it nice and cleaned up by using sanding sticks. There's a couple that I use. These are Squadron sanding sticks. They're called the premium sanding stick. Obviously coarse, medium fine, extra fine, and there's a tri grit. This is more like a polisher, but it's just for ease of use. You start off with that, and then you move on to that one, and you just bring it up to a shine with that one. But yeah, they're nice. They're nice and small. You can get into areas, etc. I also use the Flooring Models ones as well. Now these are good because he does a whole load of shapes. So he does like these are the polishing sponges. These are for your canopies and really getting things nice and shiny. Then you've got the sanding sponges, and these are called files. They're really quite hard. Now there's a coarse grit on there and a buffer on there. Now he does all these and more in a skinny type stick as well, which are fantastic because you can really just use this for an example, get into corners, etc. You know, there's nothing wrong with you cutting them down, but when these are a little bit too big to get in, you can use a skinny stick. Now he does these in various varieties of grit as well. Right then, let's move on. So we've taken off the nubs, and the first thing we're going to come in is not with the too coarse grit. I'm going to use a medium grit, and just see that lightly off the end, and already what was there has gone. So again, take the base off. Try and keep it as square as you can to the profile of the piece itself, and that way you're not left with gouges or any indentations in the plastic. Well, that's really starting to get out, so nearly there. Don't say there's no rush, take your time, get it right. This one just here, and now there's that little nick there. Now we can deal with that in two ways. What I could do, because I've got some, I could use the Tommy Extra Thin. Now it's like a welding type hot glue, and that'll go in there, and I could just literally push it down once it starts to melt, and then just, actually I'll do that, why not? I'll put some on there and let it do its thing, let it run into the space, and that'll melt it away nicely. So while that's evaporating, which it does, I'll just move on to this one here. Again at the back of the shield, on top of the shield. Maybe there with that one. Right then, if I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but I can certainly see that the scratches that have been left over by this stick, then obviously you've got to come down with a finer grit. But again, that's where I like to use this tri-grit stick, because I can come along, I can start getting these scratches out. Blow. Yeah, that's started to do the trick. Flip it over to the next level. That's really going to get those scratches out. And when you're happy with that, you can just use the super fine bumper. You listen, it'll almost squeak. But there you go. It's a nice finish. Nice finish. Got that out. Right, this is nearly done its thing. Just give that a few minutes more before we try and do this one here, because if we start sanding it now, it'll just start pulling it around. You want to wait for it to completely evaporate. Let's just put that aside. But let's just do this one again, the tri-grit. That's there. These are not going to take much to do, because I cut close with the knife. Well, cut close with the nippers, then the knife, and then the coarse grit, and then the tri-grit. Well, not the coarse grit, the medium grit, sorry. Right. This one. And the polisher. That's that one done. Okay then. So while we're waiting for the other bits and dabs to dry, I'll move on to these other parts. Right, this 1, 2, and 3. Right then, I'll use the skinny stick for this one. I like to go in the direction of the piece to start off with, just to bring it down in the back, just to level it up, and just a few drags over. Now look at that, already done. And it's just this little part here. That part's done. Now, you can say to yourself, now do I need to polish these up, because probably these are going to be on the inside of the shield. Yeah, might do, might not, but the thing is, you know you've done it if you do it. So move in with the tri-grit. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this part. And then that's that part done. Now you've got these little parts here on this red piece. I'm going to use the skinny stick on this again and draw it along. Now, because this is round, I'm not going to go for it with this one. I'm going to just take this down as close as I can, and then I'm going to use a sanding sponge. Now, a sanding sponge, see that? They will come, and this one's been a bit used as well, so it's got quite a lot of the grit taken off it. These will conform to shapes. So, for instance, you've got this round part here. You're not going to rub a square part, a flat part onto it, and then that way you're still left with your nice round piece. Now, I'm not going to go down on this part. Yeah, still a little bit there. I'll do that. Yeah, all done. Nice. That's another part done. Let's do this part because it's nice and round. A couple of there and one at the end. And I'm going to use my knife on this. Use my little mat just to raise it up just that little bit more. If there's any, say for instance, if there were some pegs on the end of here, I wouldn't try and put it flat on the bench. I'd see if I could raise it up a little bit by using this as a bit of a tool. Just come in and that's nice and close. And this one, yeah, as close as you can. Pick up the sanding sponge again. Lovely. Nice and gentle. Let the sponge do the work. Lovely. And just that part there because it's flat. Lovely. We'll try a bit of polish on it. Now, the thing is as well, when you're priming it, these surface primers, the Vlayer ones, they're self-leveling anyway, so they do fill in quite a lot of the gaps and stuff. And as you build up the layers of paint as well, you'll see less of this. But the time that you take prepping the surface for your paint, it'll speak volumes on the finished surface. It'll look really nice. You know, I know there's only probably you ever going to see it, but knowing that you've done these things just gives you a better model in the end. Now there's some quite flat parts here. Where's my knife? Okay. So I'm going to come in with a knife first and just take off as much as I can with it done in the piece. Yeah, that's not too bad, not too close. And the same here. Be careful when you're working with knives, guys. You know, especially if you haven't used them in a time. You know, obviously this this tutorial is aimed at people who just starting with an airbrush, or just starting to coming out of just snapping their Gundams together, and they want to do something a bit extra. You know, so I'm no expert, but this is how I do it, and if it helps in any way, then great. You know, we all learn off people. You know, I learn a lot of stuff off YouTube. You learn a lot of stuff off YouTube. It's a great source of reference for everything I do, including cooking, everything like that. You know, it's a brilliant reference. You know, I really like YouTube. A lot of my hobbies have been because of watching stuff on YouTube and then thinking, you know what, I'm going to have a go at that. Right then, let's get back to this. Let's take this nut off out using this medium squadron stick. These do have a little bit of give in them, but they're nowhere near as forgiving as the Flory model sanding sponge. Like I said, they do the sponge, and he calls them the foils, where it is, but you know, it's nowhere near like these. These do feel good, and they do conform to the rounder shapes. Looking good. Let's try grip. good enough for me on that one, because that one's partly hidden anyway. That's the arm brace. Right then, let's go back to this piece. As you can see now, that glue's dried and it's filled in the gap, so we're not going to go mad with this one. We're just going to come in with the skinny stick on the actual nub part itself, just drawing it along, squaring it up, keeping it nice. There you go, that's the nub taken care of. Now let's just start with, we'll go straight in with a fine one. Right, it's near a panel line as well, so I'd say, you know, be careful near a panel line unless you've got the tools to deal with it later, i.e. scribers or P cutters or anything like that. As you can see, that glue's just, I think I'm going to need something a little bit coarser just to deal with the glue to start off with, just to take the tackiness away. There you go, that's starting to move now. Well, I'm pressing quite hard, but not only has it got the glue to contend with, it's got the cut that I made underneath as well. Okay, that's done it, but it has taken out some of the detail of that panel line. So what I'm going to use here, it's a P cutter, the Tamiya one. Now, if you're very careful, start with a push, a couple of pushes, just to get the, it might just need that, just to take the dust that you created from the sanding process out of that panel line. But I'm going to draw it once more and then draw it back. You can see it's just picking out a little bit of the plastic and deepening that line. There you go, that's beautiful. I'm happy with that. Right then, another part of the prep work is, say for instance, if you wanted to jazz this up with some extra parts. Now I've brought these Photo Etch parts here, and they're little circles. Now I'd rather do, well, I'd not rather do it, I'm definitely advise anybody to do it. If you're using anything like this, put the marks in where you're going to go before any painting, because once you've drilled it out or used a little tool just to bore out a dent, so these little components sit a little bit more flush. So for instance, you use one of these. It's like a little Dremel tool, you can see it there, and it's not the diamond type, it's the knurled cutting type. And if you just use that to put a little indentation into the plastic itself, then these parts will sit just inside the indent and then become flush with the plastic itself. Or, you know, you could just stick them straight on after. You know, they're going to be a little bit raised, but you know, that's entirely up to you. But me, it's all part of the prep work. The first P is the prep. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop filming for a little while, and when we come back I'll show you the areas, the positions that I've put these, because I've not decided yet the method in which I did it, and then how I tidied it all up. So see you in a short while. Okay, and welcome back. So when I left you, I was just on about creating some indents for these effect parts. Now what I did was first off use my pen, find out where I want to put them, what looks right, put a few dots there, and then I make a little indent with a needle, a little crochet needle. It's got a bit of tape around it, and that just stops the third process, which is the drill itself. Obviously I've had this in a pin vise, and you just make it, not all the way through, just a little hole just into the plastic itself, and then the final stage of that is using that tool I was on about earlier on, back in the pin vise. Now I've got this one left here to do, I'll just show you that. So let's bring it up. Anyway, I'll probably digitally zoom in anyway during editing. So put that there, just a few turns, a constant but light pressure, and then let's have a little look. Nearly there, a couple more turns, and that's done. So another thing that you do once you've done that, because you probably create a little burr on each one of these, is just go over with the stick again, and as a matter of fact, while you're there, you can just rub all over the area, just scuffing it up a little, well, just taking the sheen off it. Right, some people are of the train of thought that when you buy your kit and it comes on all the sprues, wash all the sprues. Okay, if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. But me, because take it off the sprue, do what you got to do to it, put it in your containers, ready for when it's time to be painted. But just before you paint it, it's going to be covered in dust, grease, fingerprints, etc., etc. Use some isopropyl alcohol and clean the pieces off, and then put them on your pegs. Then you know there will be no residual chemicals or grease or anything left on the piece, ready for painting. So that's the first P covered, prep. The second P will be prime, and we'll cover that in the next video. So until the next time, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll leave you some stills of what this looks like with just the effect parts just sitting in place before the painting. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon.